Chief White House correspondent John Roberts joins us now from the North Lawn. John?
Harris, good afternoon to you. What we can tell you is that the Democratic memo is here at the White House. It's 10 pages long versus 4 pages long for the Republican memo that was released last Friday. The NSC, National Security Council, the White House counsel's office will be reviewing it. It's also been given to the Department of Justice, and it wasn't the White House that did that. My understanding is that it was the minority in the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence that sent it over to the DOJ for review. And it's interesting, Harris, that we have not heard the same concerns from the DOJ and the FBI about the Democratic memo that we heard about the Republican memo last week. Sarah Sanders, the press secretary, in a statement this morning saying, quote, "The White House has received a memorandum from the minority members of the House Select Permanent Committee on Intelligence. As stated many times, the administration will follow the same process and procedure with this memorandum from the minority as it did last week when it received the memorandum from the majority." Now, as you played just a second ago, Adam Schiff, who's the ranking member on the Intelligence Committee, says his big concern is that there will be political redactions that are made to this memo. But sources who have read this memo tell Fox News that there are several references to sources and methods that would likely need redacting or potentially be cause for the president to not allow the memo's release. A source insists this was done tactically to force the White House into making changes or objecting to its release. White House sources I checked with say there is material in the memo that would be subject to redaction, forcing the president to order up changes or setting up a contrast at the very least with the GOP memo that was released last week. You'll remember the White House made no redactions to that memo. Now, yesterday, outside Cincinnati, the president took a moment out of talking about tax reform to reference the Republican memo, not specifically citing it, but pretty clear what he was talking about here. Let's listen.
Oh, did we catch them in the act? They are very embarrassed. They never thought they were going to get caught. We caught them. Hey, we caught them. Oh, it's so much fun. We're like the great sleuth.
One other thing that's going on here, Harris, we should point out is that John Kelly, the chief of staff, is up on Capitol Hill and has been most of the day to try to cut a deal on DACA. Of course, they're trying to get a continuing resolution to keep the government running after the deadline on Thursday. Now, John Kelly said in relation to DACA that the president was not likely to extend that March 5th deadline, which increases the pressure, of course, to get a deal, but also stands in sharp contrast with what the president said on CNBC when he was in Davos, when he said, "We'll get it solved. If we need a little more time, we'll take a little more time. I want to get the problem solved correctly." So either the president has had a change of heart or John Kelly is just playing hardball with the negotiations. Harris?
All right. John Roberts, thank you very much. Here now, Republican